Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 14 of my Learn to Program series. In this part of the tutorial, I'm going to focus 100% on threads. If you haven't seen any of the previous parts of the tutorial, I provide a link here in the video, so you should watch those, otherwise you might be confused. Also, underneath the video in the description, you will find a link to a transcript as well as all the code you find here in this program, and I have a lot to do, so let's get into it. Okay, so here we are. Now, whenever you use threads, it is like you're running multiple programs at once. Threads actually take turns executing, however it might not seem like that. And while one is going to execute, the other is going to sleep until it's its turn to execute. And a thread is just a block of code that executes. That's it. We've been working with one thread the whole entire time. Now we're going to have multiple threads. So let's come in here and let's just import what we need. So we need to import threading, and I'm going to do something with time. So I'm going to import time, and I'm going to import random. Now let's come in here and we will define a function that will execute as a thread, and it's just going to receive a single value here. And what I'm going to do here is print out some information on the time. So I'm going to say print, and I'll say thread sleeps at, and I'm going to print out the time when it goes to sleep, and then we'll use format to put the information inside of here. And we'll just have I is going to represent an identification for the thread that we're going to be executing here. And then I'm going to use a formatted time method from the time import we have here. So it's strftim, so it's formatted time. So this is something new to see. And inside of here, I'm going to define exactly what I want to see. So I want to see the hour with a colon, and then I want to see the minutes with a colon, and then I want to see the seconds with a colon. And then after that, I'll go time, and I will get GM time. Then I want to generate a random sleep period for my thread. So I'm going to come in and generate a random integer, and it's going to be between 1 and 5 seconds, just so we have something a little bit different here. And let's name this sleep so that that's spelled right. And then to make a thread or a group of code pause and let other threads jump in and execute, we call time and sleep. And then inside here, I'll put the random sleep time. And then after that, I'm going to come in and print out after the thread has awoken. So we'll say thread stops sleeping at and a specific time here. And then we'll come in and do the format again, so we can just copy this whole entire thing. Let's just copy that and paste that inside of there. And then down here, whoops, actually I see a common error here. I'm going to zoom in on here. This is a question I get a lot. It says end of statement expected. Whenever you see that, normally just means you have one too many parentheses. So there you go, solve that little error. Now we can come down here and start creating some threads and then run them and see what happens. So I'll say range 10, and then I'm going to create a thread. And to do so, you just go threading and thread, and then you have to tell it what you want to have executed. So the name of that function is going to be equal to, and this has to be called target. The name of this is going to be execute thread. However, we get rid of those parentheses, and then you have to pass arguments into it. So these are things that are required, and this is expecting a sequence to be passed to it. So what we're going to do is we only want to pass in an identification for the thread name, so we're going to put a comma after that. And what's going to happen here is each time we cycle through our looping structure here, a thread object is going to be created, and then we're going to pass it to the method that needs to be executed, or the function that needs to be executed, as well as the arguments that need passed to that specific function. And then after we do that, we say thread, and to start the execution, we call start. And then I'm going to print out some additional information, and we can say active threads, and what this is going to do is print out the number of threads that are currently executing. And we could also come in here and return a list of all the active thread objects that are out there. So we could say thread objects, and to get those we just call threading once again and enumerated with the parentheses inside of there. Alright, so we're going to create 10 threads and execute them. And don't forget to come up here and put in inside of there. Alright, so now we got that set. Let's run it. Oh, got a little bit of a bug here. Let's see what this is. So this right here says we need to call this enumerate, not enumerated. Sorry about that. And let's run it, and you can see there we go, and we are running. Alright, so what's going on here? So we can come up to the top, and you can see that thread 0 is going to start. However, inside of the code, it's going to come in here, and it's going to execute this statement right here, and then it's going to go to sleep. Whenever it goes to sleep, that means that it's going to be able to call for the second thread to execute. Now, you may ask yourself right here, why are there two active threads? Well, you can see right here, the answer is main thread. The actual program, this guy right here, is also a thread. So that's the reason why. So you have this up here that's going to be running this code up here with the first thread you create, as well as this is also going to be a thread. So that's the reason why you have two there. And you can see we were able to print out the information in regards to what threads we're executing, and you can see each time that it's going to be incrementing upwards. And you can also see the number of threads is also going to be incrementing upwards. Now we came inside of here and we said we wanted it to go to sleep, which means we want the next thread in line to be able to execute. And this is going to be a random value between 1 and 5. And if you come down here, you're going to see thread 3 stops sleeping at and the specific time. And the reason why they're out of order is because they are going to sleep for different periods of time between 1 and 5 seconds. And 1 and 5 seconds is like a million years in computer world. And that's the reason why you don't have these stumbling all over each other. And also the reason why you have thread 3 stop sleeping right here before thread 9 and 8 and 0 and 2 and 4 and la 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 la. So there you go. Very simple example of how threads work, and it's just basically they're going to line up and create a whole bunch of threads that want to execute the same exact code. Doesn't have to be the same exact code by no means, but then they're going to take turns each time one of the threads goes to sleep executing their specific lines of code until all the threads have executed their lines of code and everybody's happy and the program finishes. And now I'm going to get into a little bit more complicated topic. I'm going to talk about how we can subclass a thread. And basically you can subclass the thread object and then define what happens each time a thread is going to be executed inside of a method called run. So we're going to create this just like we create all of our classes. So I am going to call this custom thread, and I'm going to define that I want threading. I want this to subclass the threading thread object that's available inside of here. Now I have to just define everything. So I'm going to say call initialize, and it's just going to receive name so that we can identify the different threads inside of here. And then what you have to do is call for the super thread class to execute. And I'm just going to call initialize on that guy, and then you just pass self inside of there, and that's all you need to worry about with that. And then afterwards I'm going to come in here and store the name that was passed inside of here so we can refer to that. Once again, we're going to come in and we're going to define the run method, and this is going to be the method that's going to execute whenever we call for our thread object to execute. And basically what it's going to do is it's going to call a function getTime, and to it is going to pass the name so that we can know what thread is working. And then after that we're going to go print, and we'll say thread, and then get the thread's name, and then we'll say execution ends. So this time what we're doing is we're having all the code execute in an outside function and then jump out inside of here, or jump back inside of here, and that is what's going on. So another thing we can do now is to create our getTime function. Once again, it's going to receive the thread name, and inside of this we're going to print out exactly the same thing we did before, which is this guy, which is going to print out the thread's name and also whenever that thread went to sleep to allow other threads to execute. And then we'll generate our random sleep time in exactly the same way. So you're going to see the same exact example, just done in two different ways. One using a thread object and another one using a custom thread object. So random int, and then we'll do 1 through 5 just like before. And then inside of here also we're going to be able to go and call for sleep to occur for our thread, and random sleep time is that guy. Then we have to do things a little bit different. We're going to create some thread objects this time, so we're going to say thread 1, is going to be equal to, and then we have to call our custom thread, and all it wants passed is a name. And then let's go and create 2 threads here. Paste that inside there. Let's call this thread 2 and give it the name of 2. And then to start the execution, you're going to do exactly the same thing you did previously. You're just going to call start on this, and thread 2 and start. So that starts executing. We can come in here and check if a thread is alive, which means that it's running here. And to do so, we just reference the thread's name followed by is alive, and that's going to come back with either true or false. And then we'll do exactly the same thing with thread 2. We could also get our thread name. So let's say print and thread 1 name, and that's going to come back as 1, as you'll see. Thread 1 and get name, and you're going to be able to also change the name or set it with set name, but we're going to get it this time, so we don't want to put the set name inside of there, obviously. Going to do the same thing with thread 2 and 2, and then we use join to come in here so that we can wait for threads to exit, and then we'll do the same thing with the next one. And then finally we can come in here and just print a little message that says execution ends, so that we know what's going on. So let's run this, and you can see right here, pretty simple. Thread 1 is going to call the getTime method, which is going to say that thread 1 sleeps at a specific time, and like I said, a second in the computer world is extremely long, so that's the reason why these are exactly the same time and they go to sleep at exactly the same time. You could see that we came down here and asked if they were alive, and it came back as true and true. You can see that the name comes through as 1 and 2, of course, just like we have here. And you can also see thread 2 execution ends and thread 1 execution ends. So threads should make a lot of sense now. So what I'm going to do now is jump into a real world situation so we can see an example of why we would use threads. Alright, so whenever you are using your threads, you can lock other threads from executing. So let's say if we tried to model a bank account. In that situation, a thread would make a lot of sense, or using threads would make a lot of sense. Because let's say you only had $100 in the account, however, there were 3 different people that had access to that account. Now, you wouldn't want them to go and withdraw more money out of the account than is actually there. So what's going to happen is if somebody goes and tries to withdraw money from the account, all other ATM machines or the ability to access that account will be locked out until the first user is finished withdrawing funds from the account. So we're going to come in here and we're going to create a custom class that is going to be a subclass of thread that is going to lock out other users from using an account. So let's come in here and let's create that, and we're going to do the same thing again, threading and thread. Going to do the same thing. We're going to need to initialize this guy, and in this situation I'd like to come in and have the name of the person trying to access the account and the amount of money that they are trying to request. So we're going to come in again and go threading and thread and initialize this guy, and here we'll just pass in self once again, and then we will also come in and assign the name of the person accessing the account and also the money that is going to be requested. So that's initialized. So now inside of run, what are we going to do? We're going to go define run. First thing we want to do is get a lock to keep other threads from being able to access our account. So to do so, call thread lock and acquire. And this guy is actually going to be created down in the main thread. So I'll go thread lock is equal to, and I'll go threading lock. Also inside a run, I want to call a static method that's going to go in and try to access and get money and withdraw money from the account. So I'm going to go bank account get money and pass self inside of there, because I want to be able to access the name and the money requested inside of the static method. So that's a requirement. And then after it tries to get the money out of the account, I'm going to release my lock to let other threads go in there or other customers go in and try to access that information. Now to create a static method, did this in previous parts of the tutorial, just go static method like that. And here is where we're going to allow them to access the account and try to get their money. So we'll say get money. The customer is going to be passed in here. You can see self, so it's going to be the bank account for said customer is going to be passed inside of here. And then I want to print out some information about exactly what's going on inside of here. So I'm going to say the person's name tries to withdraw and a certain amount of money at, and then we'll say a specific time, just to have this be a little bit more like a real world thing. We'll go customer name is what we want to print out there, and then we'll say customer and the money requested, and then we want to come in and print out some information about the time. So there's that same formatted time function we saw previously. And then after this, we have to find out if the information or the account actually has money inside of it. So I'll go bank account, and we can go account balance, and let's come up here and we'll throw in a static variable that's going to be account balance is equal to, let's just say the person is poor and only has $100, and subtract out the customer's money request and see if it is greater than 0. And if it is, we want to come in here and update the bank account balance by subtracting off how much money they just requested. And then we can print some information about the new account balance, new account balance. So I hope you see here a situation in which threads really make a lot of sense in a real world situation. So we can go format, and then we can go bank account and get the new account balance. Otherwise, if they don't have enough money inside of their account, we need to print a message that says not enough money in account. And then let's also show them their current balance so that they know how much can be taken out of it, and format that and go in and put bank account and the account balance. And then also we can come in and go time sleep and just set that to 3 seconds. And then we'll come down into the main part, or the main thread for our program, and make all this work. I already said this is going to allow us to lock our threads from executing. Let's go and create a couple customers here. So bank account here, and Doug is going to be accessing it, and Doug only wants $1. And then we'll do the same sort of thing for 2 more so that you can just see how this is going to work. So the next person is going to be Paul, and let's say that Paul thought he was going to be sneaky and go in there and take all of the money. We're going to see what happens there. And then let's say we have Sally. Sally comes after Paul and tries to withdraw money, and she wants 50% or $50. We're then going to have to start our threads executing, and we'll do it in exactly the same way as we did previously. And there we go. Of course, we want the threads to wait for the previous threads to terminate, so we'll do join here, and we'll do that for all of these guys. And then there's Sally, and then let's print a message here at the end so that we know when the execution ends. Alright, so now we can do this, and we can come over here and watch it all take place. So run it. Whoops, little error. Come over here. It says bank account has no attribute account balance. What did I name it? Come up inside of here. I typed out account, so let's get rid of that and run it now. And there you can see it's working. Doug tries to withdraw $1, and that's a specific time. New account balance is $99. Paul tries to withdraw $100 at that time. It says not enough money in the account. It prints out the current balance. And then Sally comes along and tries to withdraw $50. You can see now that current account balance is $49 and execution ends. So there you go, guys. There are 3 examples in ways that you can use threads. Hopefully that clears up threads, because I know a lot of people out there were struggling with understanding how they work. And if you take some time now and think up your own scenarios in which threads work, write down and go and create your own little programs to test them out, I think they will be no problem for you in the future. So like always, please leave your questions and comments below. Otherwise, till next time.